Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Friday. We made another one. Happy Friday, everybody. Wanted to see what you guys are doing. More than that, I want to see what you guys are thinking. So it's Friday. We're heading into the weekend, right? And we're looking back at our week and we're trying to figure out what we did. We're trying to think about what happened, what went on, what mistakes we made, what challenges we faced, what things we overcame. And one of the things that I find myself doing when I come to the end of the week is I start reevaluating what I did. Most of the time I fall into the category of being a thinker, believe it or not. And then sometimes I fall into the category of being a doer. But when I come to the end of the week, I think about what I've done. You see where I confuse myself? But what are you doing? I mean, when you're sitting there at the end of the week and you're going over what happened and you're going over what went on and you're trying to think about what you're going to do next and you're trying to plan out what's your motive for moving forward, the way that you're going to get there, what are you thinking? Because you're definitely not doing something, right? I mean, because if you're doing something without thinking, well, then you're kind of in a mess. You're kind of going to make some mistakes. It's going to be costly. It's going to be expensive. You're going to find out later that there was a better way to have done it. But it'll probably likely be too late at that point to do it the best way possible. Not saying what you did was wrong or didn't work, but there may have been probably a high likelihood that there could have been a better way to do it if you're spending your time thinking about it and then doing it. But oftentimes as thinkers, sometimes you never get going. Sometimes you never get to the doing part. You spend all your time thinking about it. You wind up with analysis paralysis at the end of the week. You thought you did something, but then again, on further reflection, you realize you did not. So what are you really doing about what you're thinking or thinking about what you're doing? When I look back at the week, I see the things that I could have done better. I see the struggles that I had, but I also see the progress that I made. Giving myself credit for progress that's made, however small it is, it's still progress. Things that have changed that aren't the way that they were, well, it's still progress. Is there room for improvement? I think until the day we die, there's always room for improvement. But the reality is if you just sit there and think about making progress, you're never going to make progress. If you just start doing things because you think that maybe this will work or maybe that will work or maybe this will work, and you're not thinking it through all the time, you're going to make more mistakes than you need to. So everybody needs a fine balance between being a doer and being a thinker, but obviously having the thinker in front of the doer. Right? Otherwise, you wind up doing more than you need to and thinking about too much after the fact, right? So as you're getting to the end of the week and you're settling down and you're reevaluating it and you're looking at it and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your next 7 days, what you're going to do over the weekend to prepare for your work week that's going to put you in a place that's going to help you be successful in the upcoming 5 days or 6 days, however your work week works out. You want to make sure that you're reflecting properly, that you're thinking through things before you're doing things. That always makes it best. But what is your balance? If there's one thing that I think I'm good at, it's being self-aware. It's realizing what I'm good at and what I suck at. Trying to hire and surround myself with people that are really good at what I'm not good at. So that while I can think about great things to do, sometimes I get caught up in the thinking process. Sometimes I get caught up in the doing process. Sometimes I turn off the thinking process to go do the doing process. That really leaves me in a conundrum because sometimes I forget to pick up the thinking again. And I wind up with a bunch of stuff done that really kind of wasn't relevant or was out of sequence. And so when I get to that point where I think about it and I look at it, I realize that, hey, if I can be the guy that's making the game plan, if I can be the guy that's running around at 30,000 feet, that's thinking about this and that's implementing ideas and thought processes and putting key players in place that we can execute at a high level without compromising what we're trying to accomplish and do it with as few mistakes as possible, then I have thunk of the best way to think about it, right? So when you're looking at what's happening in your week and you're looking at what's going on next and what's going to happen after that, there's definitely a lot to think about. Right? but how much of the thinking needs to be backed up by actions, and how much of that action is going to lead to some sort of failure, some sort of revamp, some sort of going back to the drawing board, finding another way to do it, realizing that maybe this path isn't the right one, but stopping yourself before you totally drive off the cliff into something even worse. But the reality is, a lot of times we get caught up in our doing process and we forget to go back to the thinking process. So I'll conclude with this, and I'll leave you with something to think about that you can implement it next week while you're doing this, right? What are you thinking about? What is your level of priority with thought process? How much time are you allocating to thinking about doing it? How much time are you giving yourself to implement what you've thought about? How are you preventing yourself from getting stuck in one cycle or the other? Because, my friends, at the end of the day, we all have the same 24 hours. It's how much we're able to think up and get done that differentiates us from the next guy or the next gal, right? So while you're thinking about this over the weekend, don't forget to have a great time. Enjoy your weekend. And let's think about what we're going to do next. And I'll see y'all next week. Have a great weekend, guys.